Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about American politics, and we're going to talk about survey data and polls. All right, okay. So Ezra Klein, he is a columnist for the New York Times, and he has the Ezra Klein podcast, which the New York Times hosts. I really like it; it's quite excellent. So let's get the pins in place here. Ezra Klein is dyed-in-the-wool super liberal, right? And he's incredibly biased against Trump. And he works for the New York Times. New York Times is outrageously biased against Trump. They do not, the idea that New York Times covers anything objectively is not, I'm not saying it's laughing matter. Stephen Colbert actually had a like, I don't think she was from the New York Times. She had like a media journalist on, and she's like, well, she said, like, at one point she said that she was, being objective, right? And the audience literally laughed out loud with the idea that any mainstream news source would give Donald Trump even a modicum of fairness is laughable now, right? Like, mainstream media is deep in pocket for Democrats and for liberals. Ezra Klein is a dyed-in-the-wool liberal. We need to establish that, because what he just said is absolutely shocking, all right? So he did this podcast. It was on New York Times, and you can find it there. Ezra Klein, Democrats Need to Face Why Trump Won. It's about an hour and 15 minutes. Highly recommend it. And what it really is it's the exclamation point on the sentence that says the Democrats are cooked. The Democrats are completely finished. The Democrats are done. It's cooked in the book, man. Like, the Democrats have been defeated in every possible way by Donald Trump. So Ezra Klein did this podcast, and he had a survey data guy on, right? And so he brought on this guy, and it's so funny, because, like, this guy's a survey data guy, right? But he's also, there's a reason he's on the New York Times podcast with Ezra Klein, because he looks like a supermodel, right? Like, he's just like super young, super fit, like curly hair, like it just, like, it's wild, because and this is important, right? Because, and this gets to exactly what I'm about to say, okay? So Ezra Klein's like, hey, thanks for coming in, buddy. And I'm not even going to say this guy's name, because I think his entire performance was outrageously embarrassing for him and his entire industry, which is the survey data industry. And by the way, I'm going to say survey data in this, because that's what they were talking about. Everything I say about survey data is simply polling, right? So survey data equals polling So Ezra Klein was like, okay, hey, you and I are going to break down 100 numbers about why the Democrats lost the election, right? We're going to go into a deep, in-depth discussion of hard data, right? But Ezra Klein is a brilliant man, okay? Dyed-in-the-wool super liberal, super biased against Donald Trump, and even his employment by the New York Times means that the New York Times is super dedicated against the president. That's I think that's really important for us to understand, is that mainstream media is so, like, they have an adversarial relationship with the U.S. president at this point. They're not even attempting to cover him with anything but vitriol and emotion, right? Like, it's just pure vitriol, pure hate, pure despisement, right? And let's get into it. All right. So Ezra Klein is bringing on this survey data guy to do nothing but for an hour and 15 minutes to talk about survey data. But he's smart, and so he said, hey, why should anyone believe anything you're about to say? Right? Like, he literally started the interview with saying, hey, everybody knows your ridiculous fool industry is useless, right? I cannot start this interview with a straight face with you looking at charts on your tablet, because no one with a brain in their head anymore believes that survey data or polling is real. No one. It's done. It's finished. Your entire industry is cooked. You're finished. It's over, right? Like he's saying, like, I have to preface talking with you for a full hour straight, right, by saying, no one believes anything on your stupid tablet. No one believes that any of your charts are real. Everything you're saying is nonsense, right? So why don't you, and then what was shocking was the guy took the question seriously. He's like, well, yeah, and he gave that classic, right, what we heard for 3 months. Well, the polls tell us that Donald Trump is going to lose, but they told us the same thing in 2020, or like they told us, they told us the same thing in 2016 when we were like, people saying, yeah, these numbers have been fake for 8 years, right? Like, just outrageous, it is shocking. It is absolutely shocking what's happening, right? And so Ezra Klein is like, I'm going to have you as my guest. Welcome, guest. You're going to say a bunch of useless crap, and I'm going to pretend it's real. And that's where we're at right now. Why is this happening? So first of all, survey data and poll industry, the whole industry is cooked. Nobody believes. You have guys, this is Ezra Klein, right? He lives on data, right? About the Democrat Party. New York Times lives on data, right? But but he has to start an interview about data saying no one believes this, right? Tell me why anybody should believe anything you have to say. And this guy, given the same milquetoast, well, the percentage points, there's the margin of error, it's still important. Same crap we heard for 3 months before the election now, right? Saying, hey, we assure you, we got you can tell, every serious pollster can tell you that Donald Trump's going to get completely wrecked, right? Every single poll, every survey data was wrong, right? But this industry is still functioning. There's still people paying for this data, which is shocking, absolutely shocking. So why? Let's talk about that. Tradition. Get your fiddle out and go to the roof. Fiddler on the roof. Tradition, not actual numbers or data or anything real. Tradition. We need to keep pretending that survey data, the industry, is actually real. We did 26 million surveys last year, and we need to not have all these people lose their jobs immediately. Tradition. Like, it is shocking, right? He said at the beginning of the interview, we all know every single stupid chart you have is going to be ridiculous nonsense with no actual bearing on anything. But tradition, let's pretend that industry data, and let's pretend that survey data and polling is real. Tradition. And here's the thing. Tradition is real. It is extremely real, right? Like the entire, Ezra Klein is interviewing this guy out of memory muscle. He can't, there's no use in this interview, right? There's no truth going to come out of it. But he has a memory muscle of talking to survey guys for 20 years and pretending what they were saying was real or truth or had any backing at all, right? And so he has to, he's literally going off a muscle memory, right? The same way, a pro baseball player, hits a home run, right? But the reality is there's no more balls being thrown. There's nothing there. Nothing's going to go over the fence, right? We all now know survey data and polling is absolute bunk. It's phrenology. It is a fake discipline, right? And it's astounding. It is astounding that we have landed here, right? And so I'm calling it. In my humble opinion, when Ezra Klein did an hour-long interview with a survey data guy, a pollster, right? And said, hey, before a single word comes out of your mouth, let's both just admit that your entire industry, your entire discipline is phrenology. It's just literally made up junk that is never true. It's like you guys use spreadsheets, but you count with your heart. Right? There is absolutely no basis to believe anything you're saying. I was like, I could not believe. He's like, before anybody listens to a single word you say, could you attempt to defend your entire industry? And the guy's like, well, here, let me repeat everything that every other wrong pollster and survey data guy said for 3 months before the election. Can I hit play? I got to record it on my phone. Survey data and polls are done. It's cooked in the book. It's finished. And now you're going to keep hearing survey data and polls. Tradition! Like, it's so ridiculous, right? Just like there's no need for it. It's not real, but we have a momentum and a tradition in America where literally every journalist and every talking head is like, I don't know who to talk to if it's not some guy with a tablet and a chart on the tablet. And it doesn't matter if the numbers are real. We're past pretending that news carries any fact anymore anyway. It's all completely biased and built on hatred, right? So does it matter that the chart is fake? Our objectivity's been fake for 30 years, right? Every single word you just heard in this video is my humble opinion. Absolutely not a thing more, absolutely not a thing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like and subscribing, and have a fetched millennium.